No, you just talk, I think.
All right, welcome back to our second live podcast here for Shaping CT's Future, Entrepreneurship and Innovation and Leadership. Let's go down the line, kind of, talk about who we are and our journeys and, where our perspective on entrepreneurship, and has it changed or have we kind of learned anything so far today? Justin?
You want me to start?
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. Justin Luzt, founder at Sample and Cause Connect. I mean, from an entrepreneurship standpoint, that's my lifeblood. I enjoy, exploring trends and solving problems. I mean, as far as how it's changed, it changes all the time, and it changes more quickly now than ever before. Right? But I think we'll probably get into that a little bit more.
Yeah, I think so too.
Rachel Mealy, Metinteractive. We're a AV IT integration company, about 13 years in business, and been an entrepreneur even before that. I feel like one of the biggest things that I had reinforced today is just a sense of community, like trying to make sure you're connected with other CEOs and executives who have been through what you've been through before, so that whatever stage of the journey that you're in, you've got somebody you can chat with to try to avoid those pitfalls before you hit them, or at least make them a little less bumpy than they might be otherwise.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The feeling that someone else, you're the only one, right, that's kind of going through.
Yeah, you always feel alone, and
Yeah.
so if you got that community, it's a lot easier to feel okay about what's happening.
Absolutely. Paolo.
Paolo Volpati-Kendra from Milano, Italy. Lived the American entrepreneurial dream.
Right.
Came here as a university student. Had an idea related to food and solving what I thought was a need for clean, pure products. And was able to express myself in this beautiful environment and had a successful exit through a private equity sale. And today I'm back in the game as a fractional manager for several food companies.
Love it.
Arther Linares, I'm the CEO of Rodeo Cannabis. We have the only outdoor cannabis farm, sun-grown farm in Connecticut. And we have a manufacturing lab where we process pre-rolls, vapes, gummies, flower, concentrates. We sell them across the state to all the dispensaries. And we're opening up our own stores, rodeo stores in the future. And we also manufacture for other nationwide brands. I live in Stamford, Connecticut. I was a state senator in Connecticut for 6 years. I was an entrepreneur as well. Before that, with a different company, started Green Skies, a solar energy company here in Connecticut, and so my second rodeo.
But right.
Yeah.
So far, I mean, the prevalence of technology seems to be scaring many of the attendees. This uncertainty around how to embrace, how to leverage, and what role it will play in their workforce, in their operations, from the perspective of building software solutions, understanding, customer experiences on premises and in different environments. Is anything that you are thinking of or typically talking about not sort of been brought up, or have you heard any sort of misconceptions around how to really leverage and how to embrace this opportunity of AI and other technologies?
I mean, I'm happy to jump in here. So, yeah, I mean, I think there's, and it's funny, I think you had brought this up the other day, but there's almost a bit of a narrative violation where everything is like AI and how do we implement and integrate and what can we do to automate and take people out of the equation. And I think the folks that are going to have staying power going forward are thinking about how they bring the human element in more than ever, right? Like, how do we rehumanize? How do we personalize? How do we add that white glove touch? In a world where everyone is going to ChatGPT and saying, like, make me a blog post, right? Take care of my customer support. So placing an emphasis, I think, on like specifically in customer support on the front line, and making sure that people have a delightful experience, more important now than ever before.
Any feelings on, from your perspective of Metinteractive, the opportunities, the sort of the wayfinding that you're helping clients navigate?
Well, I think I'll first just talk about the first question that you asked, how people are feeling here, a little skeptical about technology. And I'm a huge fan of technology. I love it all, and I would embrace and utilize it all immediately in my business. But I think the thing that hasn't necessarily been talked about is that trepidation from the majority of people, and that includes my employees and my customers. And so while I'm ready to go 100% or 150%, I got to take baby steps, and I got to introduce my team and my clients to elements that they can understand and start to see the value that it brings them, before introducing wayfinding to a client who they've been doing paper for their entire lives. That might be a step too much. Maybe I've got to level them up to something a little bit more static first.
And I'd imagine that's something that's kind of being talked about in some of the breakouts going on as far as workforce goes, because that, as entrepreneurs, it's very much let's jump on these things that are going to make us more efficient and be solution first, sort of quick problem solvers. But then you have a team and a staff and folks that are saying, well, what does that do to my position, or what does that what does that do to my ability to continue to contribute? Paolo and Art, the human, whether it's cannabis or food, right, it's people have this emotional connection to, whether it was the first time, that they took a drag, right, and
I don't know what you're talking
earlier in life, or grandma's recipe, right, and so how are you balancing this really maintaining some heritage and some connection to the art of more organic product and something that is consumed and closer to home, with this push, right? And it feels like in some instances going too far or going overboard on technology could take out some of the heart of the product.
I feel that in my industry, it's everything starts from the human factor. A recipe or a concept or the design of a product is still human-based. And then obviously you have access to this amazing level of technology that can take it to a different level. But in my experience, it doesn't start from there. So I would personally never use AI to come up with a formulation or a product. It starts from my heritage, my heart, my soul. Then I can certainly use technology in the manufacturing process to expedite processes and create internal margins. And I can certainly use technology to then bring that product to market and propagate it in consumers' kitchens and dining tables. But in the food industry, in my experience, the genesis is still human.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Rodeo, we're trying to solve a fundamental human problem, which is how do we deliver a product to someone for less? And we don't want people driving out of state to buy cannabis. We want them to buy it here. And so we call it, no more trips to Massachusetts. And the way we solve that problem is by utilizing the nature's sunlight as our energy source, utilizing the well water from the ground for our water source, growing from soil, organic practices only. And we're able to provide flower and cannabis products to the market at prices that the indoor growers would just struggle to ever meet. And so we focus on that human problem, and we utilize technology to help us drive down the costs of production. So as an entrepreneur, I think what's happening in technology is phenomenal. For my team, I don't look at it like it's going to replace anyone. I actually look at it like we have so much work to do that it helps them do work faster, and they can use AI to do work faster. I also think that there's going to be things that happen in the crypto industry that specifically help cannabis with moving cash around faster without banks. We've never been able to use big banking services, so as we start to see regulation adapt in with stable coins and things like that, there's going to be opportunities in cannabis that we've never had before. So I'm bullish on technology and helping us achieve our mission for people. Yeah.
So Justin, as you know, I don't want to overstate it, but as probably the only person here who actually gets dirty in code, right? What are you seeing from the marketplace with, sort of the types of technology, the types of applications, the types of use cases that, business owners and teams are most looking for immediate support?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it really depends on the business, but the overarching theme is automating the logical processes, right? And not like to the point down here, the things that require more of a human touch, right? More feeling, more emotion, not so much. But when you talk about, lead generation, when you talk about things like building your contact list and things like leveraging, personalizing your outreach and hyper-personalizing your digital channels, right? So where we're leveraging our understanding of the folks that we're trying to get in front of, and then internally, like helping to automate our manufacturing lines and things like that. Like, these are places where it's very tangible and it's very reliable. Where it gets a little bit more dicey, I think, is when someone's trying to replace a very good customer support person, right? Who's going to understand that there are things that need to be triaged a certain way. Mm-hmm. Those things are still hard to program, like, reliably,
right?
Yeah. And that'll change.
But I think it's like 78% of people use chatbots just as a faster way to reach a human.
Yeah.
So, until they can truly, think dynamically, there's still an obstacle there, right?
Yeah. Augmentation versus replacement, unless you're talking about something very logical, very repeatable, right? That's a different story.
From a customer experience standpoint, are you changing the way, you sort of model your services, your offerings, the way you engage with customers?
Yeah, I would say so. I think sustainability has been a big topic of discussion. And like at this conference, energy has been a big topic of discussion, obviously, because AI, consumes a lot of that. And so, if we're working in national entertainment venues, the AV systems are going to take up a lot of power. Yep. And a lot, like at this convention center that we're at right now, there's going to be a lot of downtime. This event's happening right now, but what's happening the rest of the day and in the morning and the evening? And so do you want all those systems to be on all the time, sucking up all of that energy? Or do we want sustainable systems that ultimately save us money and conserve at the same time? Mm-hmm. So that's been a big topic of discussion recently.
Is there a push to sort of integrate systems with sort of that like personalization or different environment augmentation for different attendees or different patrons to events or things like that?
Yeah, I mean, of course, like, we even talk about, okay, so I'm at a Taylor Swift concert, right? And my best friend is across the arena because I couldn't get tickets. I couldn't get tickets at all, but I couldn't get tickets next to her. And so what if I had a virtual reality where I'm able to see Taylor like I'm in the front row, but I also am sitting next to my best friend who's actually physically so far away, but it's a whole new experience for the audience that is more akin to being at home, right? And some of the technology we have at home, because that's now starting to get pretty sophisticated, but with that live experience at the same time.
It brings up in a prior event, Dennis Denninger, who was at ESPN and was talking about the future of the Super Bowl, right? And 100
Yeah.
years from now or whatever, or Super Bowl, the concept of physical tickets and virtual tickets, right? And you basically, instead of just equally streaming the event, like the actual, you're buying your ticket in your virtual seat, so your view would be as if,
Yeah.
right? And then there's different pricing models
Yeah,
and strategies around
whole
that.
metaverse.
So
Makes
it made
so
me
much
think
sense.
about like this completely, kind of virtual crossover.
Stuff we haven't even
opportunity.
comprehended yet.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
sure.
For the use of tech day to day, if it's in operations, manufacturing, Paolo, or is it something that ideally you're looking for seamlessness, right? You almost don't want to know that it's there. It's just, enabling the product, or is this something that, there's value in, kind of feeling that, oh, this company is organic and still, has a heritage and a human element, but is also progressive and innovative. How do you balance that, from a market standpoint?
Going back to what you were saying, so we're working on a presentation format that will actually allow the American supermarket buyer, not the consumer, the buyer chain level, through virtual reality, to experience where the product comes from, what it stands for, and how it's made. So I'll make an example. I represent a truffle company here in the United States, and not fresh truffles, but packaged goods.
So you didn't put a GoPro on a pig and...
Actually, dogs.
Okay.
No, but our thing is the buyer will never. So we're selling 120 years old history, family history, in the woods of Tuscany, with a particular light, a particular scent, a particular noise when you step on the leaves, the barking of the dog, and that is incomprehensible unless you put up a set of goggles, and suddenly, as a buyer, you're seeing from a bird's eye view where this is. You're going into the woods, and there I am in front of you as you're experiencing this, making you smell the truffle as the dog is digging and finding the truffle. So for us, it's a step forward in our presentation style rather than opening a jar and here you go, try it. It's because, again, our industry is very emotional and very visceral, and the more you can spike those things through technology, short of taking a trip, a flight, and going into the woods, then we just find our competitive advantage.
Yeah, I like
It's
that.
not in the budget to fly everyone out over to Tuscany.
It's amazing. Yeah, I think we look at technology and ask ourselves, how do we make our product better? How do we make it more affordable for people, for the customer? And we have 7 acres of outdoor cannabis. It's pretty cool to see. It's like kind of surreal, right? And we have at certain points throughout the year, we'll have 65 people walking around the farm, trimming leaves, looking at the plants, kind of taking care of these plants. And we're looking at ways that maybe we can use drones to help help aid in monitoring the plants. So rather than someone spending all their time looking for the problem,
Love that.
they spend more of their time addressing the problem and using the technology to make the product better. At the manufacturing lab, we manufacture tens of thousands of packages a month, and we're looking for ways, because cannabis packaging it's sort of a newer industry. There are automated ways, but we're looking for ways to utilize AI and automation to handle the very kind of custom manufacturing process, so that there's more focus on producing a higher quality product instead of these kind of very mundane tasks of that. I think ultimately humans would rather be spending their time trying to focus on the quality of the product than doing things that are repetitive, and we should have technology do that. So that's the way we look at it.
Are there opportunities for, in a highly regulated industry, are there emerging players that are aiding, sort of tracking from, production to sale, or even, in just preservation, right, and shelf life, and, that holy grail of understanding supply chain and shelf dwell time and everything else, are those areas that you guys are leveraging?
Yeah, we've spoken to one drone operator that is actually doing this with potato farmers across the world, and he's working with big British tobacco in Brazil, flying drones around their massive tobacco fields, trying to identify problems. So we're trying to implement a solution like that in Connecticut. It's a much smaller scale, but so there are things that are kind of in the works. I think it's just all very new, and it's moving quick, and eventually it will be a good opportunity, I think, for all businesses. So we are looking at it, but there's no one that has really provided a out-of-the-box solution for my sector yet.
I'll just add to that in construction. As you can imagine, you can send somebody to site, you can say, hey, go look at this entire building, all floors that have been completed so far, and tell me where we stand. Or, now the new technology is you just use a robot, that not only is that robot walking the entire construction site, but it can do measurements and it can take pictures and, in some ways better than a human would be able to spot. Which is not to say that the human element is not important, but it allows the human to focus on the things that really matter, the conversations with the construction manager, and the client that, lead to a better overall job.
Force multiplier.
Spot issues
Yeah,
that, are going to come up with an inspection or something ahead of time. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the idea of, tech on the ground, or, in the practical application, right? My mind always goes to that bridge between consumer and business, right? Kind of collecting the lead, nurturing, sending out, the workflows, and getting to know a bit more data about potential customer, whether that's through a reseller, distributor, or direct. What other types of ways are, kind of the most practical opportunities for businesses to leverage tech?
And I mean, are we talking about AI specifically, or
No, I think just technology. I'm trying to go back to I think it was tech on the ground, right? So,
Yeah, I mean, I think, so the progression from what used to be basically RPA, like robotic process automation, right? That can be applied anywhere, right? Even what you're talking about with the drones. Basically what we're doing there is just ingesting a ton of data with the cameras, right? And helping the human be more efficient in analyzing all of that. How many use cases can you think of where that same kind of thing applies, and you have someone that can be accelerated and can look at a lot more quickly, and make better decisions because of that? I mean, the sky's the limit.
yeah. And for coming up with new, solutions for different types of venues, or, kind of planning for solutions for these new innovative, venues that are in concept, are you leveraging anything to kind of try and stay ahead of the curve there?
What's interesting for us is we often try to have we'll have clients come to us and they have these big grand ideas of we want the next Superdome or something like that. And in actuality, we often have to have a conversation with them about sustainability and about, do you have the budget to be able to care for a system like that, and how long do you want it to last? And if we don't have all of those conversations up front, they'll end up with technology that they ultimately can't use, and that can be that's devastating for the amount of money that people spend on some of this technology.
Yeah.
So that's sort of back to my first point of sometimes we got to take baby steps before we jump right to a Superdome.
Yeah.
What can we actually
you flip
wrap
the
our head
bill
around?
on the Vegas sphere?
Yeah.
Well, I think we're at break here, and thank you for kind of joining and going with the flow in this very structured conversation. But appreciate your time.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.